Good morning. Thanks for joining me today. It's Sunday morning, so it's time for our Stamp Together session. My name is Tracy Held. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne in Australia. And today, as I promised you, we're going to be making the card that I had on my blog on Friday. If you didn't see it, head over to my blog, traceofcreativity.com, although you're going to get all the details now. Let me show you the card that I'm talking about. So, this is our card. I think that it's called a flip back fun fold. I changed it up slightly because I wanted that bit over there to cover this inside bit when it was closed. Normally that bit's I'm trying to think where they put it. Okay, I'll figure it out as we're going along. So what you usually see is just a little bit of that over there where it's pointing out. I wanted it completely covered. If I figure it out, good. If I don't, well, you're just going to see it the way that I made it, because that's what I'm going to be able to follow. Now, there's lots of pieces in this card. I'm not going to go through all the measurements as we're going through. What I'll do is, as soon as I'm finished, I'll put all the measurements into the description so you can get them then. And if you don't get it, later today I will pop this onto my blog and I'll type up all the measurements on the blog as well, so you can get it at either of the places. There's not a lot of things that we were using for this card today. So obviously the awesome Otter's celebration stamp. That's a really cute one, and if it's not on your list yet, you're going to want it. I've also used my seashells dies just to get some of the leafy bits from that. And obviously I used the Simply Marvelous DSP, also from Celebration. Now, I don't have a lot of it left. So here I've got the grey, the purple and the yellow. And it's got that more darker swirly look on the other side. It also comes in pink, this greeny Bermuda Bay colour, and then the blue. So for today we're going to be using the blue. Either the green or the blue works really well with the otters, but you can go with any colour you like. There's no reason why you can't have otters popping up against a pink card. Or if you're having a bad day, maybe you feel like doing grey seas. I don't know. Alright, so we've got our standard card base, and we're going to fold it in half. Okay, so regular half fold, and then we're folding the front back on itself to make that Z fold. Okay. Then, just wondering what we should do first. Should we do our stamping first? Or should we do... Okay, we're going to need to cut some pieces first before we stamp. So let me just grab my cutter. And we'll deal with all the cutting first, and then we'll deal with stamping. Okay. Now, like I said, heaps of measurements for this card. So okay, so I've got one square which is going to be for the corners over here, and we're going to cut that in half on diagonal. Okay. I've got another square. We're going to have two of these squares. One is for the inside over here, and one is for that piece over there. So again, that one, we're also cutting corner to corner. But I think that that's all the cutting that we need to do now. So let's get our stamping done. I've got my two little white squares for there, the triangles for the middle, and I've got my big white square which is going on the inside. I'm going to be colouring the otters with the stamping blends. So I'm using Memento ink, and I need a scrap piece of paper because he's going to be cut out and then stuck on afterwards. Okay, so one of him. Then I'm going to stamp my sentiment, "You're utterly awesome," onto one of my little square pieces. Good enough, that's almost straight. And this little guy is going onto my triangle. Just not sure whether I'm going to stamp over, so I just want to put a piece of paper behind him because otherwise I'm going to land up with ink everywhere. So I'm stamping him so that he's kind of in the middle where I've got some of the sea going across the point there. There we go. And the last one is my otter hugging his little fishy friend. Let's bring my paper back again. And he's going at the bottom of my big white square. Told you I was going to get ink everywhere. So he can just float around over there. That's all our stamping done. Now we need to colour these otters, and I always tell you I'm not very big on colouring, so I do quick and easy colouring. I'm using my light and dark soft suede, and I'm using the ivory for his chest, and I've got dark smoky slate which I'm just going to colour in the noses. Now for the sea on this one I used Pool Party, but because I'm using the blue DSP I'm going to use my light and dark navy. So let's just quickly colour them in. So we're using ivory for the chest, and I just realised I didn't bring my blings to colour the fish. Okay. Now I wasn't sure what colour the otters actually are, so I did a Google search. I don't know how we ever survived before Google, but it appears that they have a lighter colour chest, and then they've got brown fur. It's in varying degrees of brown, and from the pictures that I saw, it looks like that fur looks a lot darker when they wet. Okay. Now I'm sure that at some stage we're going to come out and see these fantastical colours of otters in, you know, all kinds of rainbow colours. At the moment I can't do that. I'm a bit of a purist with colours, so we're sticking to the browns. I'm going to use my light soft suede for the dry otters, and I'll use the dark soft suede for the one that's sitting in the water. Now I have seen that somebody just coloured the whole thing in one colour and then took a bit of her colour lifter on the chest and did that. So no, you could do that if you wanted to. Like I said, there's going to be lots and lots of ways to colour them in. And maybe one day I'll learn how to colour beautifully, but I think I'm too impatient to do all that colouring. I just want it done quickly. On my original card, I did the fish in light and dark calypso coral, so I'm not going to do that here because I just didn't bring that blender with me and I don't want to go and get it. I like to just keep going. So we want him in the dark soft suede. There you go, you can see that when he's wet it looks like the fur is a lot darker. Okay. While I'm busy with the dark soft suede, I'm going to just go and add a tiny little bit of sort of highlights. And you know, just here where he's got the fur showing, and you can just do a little bit. I don't know. Like I said, colouring's not really my thing, but we'll colour in your nose. And I'm going to use the dark Night of Navy to colour in the drops of water over here. And we'll just highlight those waves a little bit. And then I'm going to fill in, just get a bit more like around the sea here with the light Night of Navy. We can maybe just have him floating on a bit of water at the bottom over there. Right, so that's all our colouring done. And before we start assembling the card, we just very quickly need to cut him out. He was going to be too big to stamp directly onto my little square, so fussy cutting it is. Fortunately, they're not too intricate, so they're not too bad to fussy cut. So how's everybody enjoying the latest celebration offerings? Unfortunately for us in Australia, because of the worldwide supply issues, we don't actually have a lot of them available. We've got the Otters, obviously, and we've got the Simply Marvelous DSP, but none of the other level 1 offerings are available. And unfortunately, there's nothing that anybody can do. It's just the way of the world at the moment. They are expecting them in, sometime of the week of the 17th of January. So if you're in Australia, don't despair. We will get them eventually, but at least, hey, we've got otters to play with, so that's a great start. Okay, we have all our little bits and pieces, so we're now ready to start assembling. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to stick those two bits of that square that I'd cut in half into the corners. And then I'm going to stick my other little squares onto the backings. We just need to put one of those aside for the moment because that's going to need to be cut and scored. I should have done that when I was cutting earlier, but I forgot about that one. But that's okay. Lucky we can just go back to it. There's our sentiment one. It's one of those days where I'm getting glue all over my fingers and I don't really know why. Obviously just sticking my fingers straight into the glue. And this one, remember, is blank at the moment because that otter's going to stick onto it. And then this piece, what we're going to do is score it down the middle. Now I probably don't need it scored with the way that I stuck my card rather than actually having that score as a fold, but I'm scoring it anyway just because that line will then give me an indication of where I want to stick it. Okay, and then we're putting the pointer for that corner, just trying to keep it straight, obviously would be good, on that 1 inch line on my cutter, and I'm cutting it off over there. Alright. Okay, I'm really trying to figure out how this was supposed to go, but it's kind of in the too hard basket, so let's not worry about that. Let's deal with it the way that I did it. Right, and I have 3 strips of my GSP. One is going on the inside of my card. Don't stick this one down yet because you want that flap to go underneath it. One is going on the front of the card. And then this little guy is going to stick onto here. So he'll fit onto there. really disturbing me. Okay, so that's what it should. So if you wanted it to be this traditional front fold, you're going to fold it on that score line, stick it against the side over here, and then stick this piece of DSP over. So that means that it doesn't make any sense at all. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how they do it where it sits like that. But I don't like that, so okay, don't worry about that. We're not doing that. I don't know why I'm actually getting my head into it, is trying to figure out something that I don't even want on my card. So ignore all of that. It's, if you really want it like that, I'm sure that you can find another one. So he's going to sit over here where I found that the point is pretty much against there, so that we want those 2 points against the DSP, which means that that end point is almost to the side and roughly equal between those two. Then I'm going to stick this bit so that that score line is against the fold, but we want to make sure that it's going to cover that when it's closed. Okay, so just lay that on top of that. I'm going to put glue on this bit, and then let's try and make sure that it is going to stay in place, and we can close that, like so. And then the strip of DSP is going to cover that, so you're not seeing that flap where that piece is attached. Right. Okay, so there we go. When it's closed, your inside bit is hidden, and you've still got a bit of place here to write your note. Then we're going to stick our other 2 pieces. So sentiment is going at the bottom, and our other otter is going at the top. Now you could stick that right at the top so that your corners are at the top and bottom. It's then just giving you a bit of a wider gap in the middle there. I want them a little bit closer, so we're going to remember only put glue on this side, because otherwise you're going to be sticking your card closed where you can't open it. So that's going a little bit higher up over there. This one, I guess it doesn't matter if you put glue on the wrong side, you can flip it over because we haven't stuck our otter on top of him yet. And trying to eyeball that it's roughly the same distance there and there. And our friendly otter can come on. Now here we don't really need to worry because he can stick, so you don't need to worry about where you're putting the glue. You can put your glue all over. If you wanted to, you could put a party hat on him, but that is then going to make him a little bit taller and going over the top. And then what I did with my seashells die is, just with scraps of the Pacific point that I had left over, I cut out bits, because all that I really want here is the seaweed and the leafy bits. Okay, so we just cut out some of those scraps, and those can be placed however you like. It's got a bit of a shell on the bottom there, but let's just see that could work if we stick it along the bottom. So let's just, okay, so no rules with your seaweed. It can go however you like. Obviously, the only thing that you don't want is for it to cover up your sentiment. And if you wanted to, you could put some of your adhesive sheets behind this. I love using my adhesive sheets behind anything that's delicate cutouts. These aren't too bad. You do have a fair amount of space to be able to put your glue down. That was a big one that I put over there. That's fine. And then got some of this floaty seaweed that I used on that one, so let's just cut it off and see how I want to put it. No, I don't think that I want to. Let's see if I cut some of that off. And I guess that's the thing with these pieces, you can really do whatever you like. So, and I must have cut different pieces here than I've cut here. But that's the fun of it. No two cards are going to come out 100% identical just because they're all handmade, and things sometimes take on a life of their own and just go wherever they want to. Okay. Put that floating over there. Happy with that. And to finish it off, we always need some bling. Can you see it on here? I've used the clear and silver epoxy dots shapes. Those are these ones. So those are the silver, these are the clear ones. I'm not sure what that's doing there, it's just visiting. So you've got round ones, you've got diamond ones, and then you've got these little like raindrop shapes, which of course are perfect to go with our water. Just wondering, I'm going to stick with the clear. I was thinking maybe we should use the silver, but the clear makes it look a bit more like real water splashing, so you can just told you my fingers are all sticky, even the dots are sticking to my fingers. A few of those. Maybe one on top of the seaweed over there. And then I just took a couple of the round ones and put them above and below the sentiment. So there's our two cards in the two different colors. Which one do you prefer? The green or the blue? I don't know, the blue is maybe more realistic sea looking, but that could be a river, or I don't know. It doesn't matter, it's whatever we want it to be. So I hope that you've enjoyed these. I hope that you'll make them. Like I said, I'm going to put the measurements up now, and it'll be on my blog later today, so if it's easier to just get the measurements off the blog. I know that sometimes on Facebook, depending on the screen that you're looking at, it's not that convenient. So traceofcreativity.com later today. Otherwise, they'll be up in the description of this video in the next few minutes. I hope that you've enjoyed this card, and I will catch you next Saturday. Till then, have a good week. Happy crafting. Bye.